Hello my loves, my name is Hannah and welcome to a week of my reading. I haven't recorded a vlog like this before, at least not in a very long time. Most of the vlogs, hi if you're new here, hello. Most of the vlogs that I have on my channel at the moment are to do with my year of reading impatiently, and they're sort of 4 books every month where I kind of do slightly more detailed reviews, and those vlogs do tend to skew more towards book reviews and a bit less towards vlogging. And these ones are a new experiment where I just take you along for a week of my reading. Any old bog standard week. I'm not doing anything special. I don't have the world's most exciting life. You know, we're not going places particularly, but I thought it would be fun to just do something that's a bit more chilled, a bit more informal, a bit more sort of like other stuff in here. But obviously we're going to be reading. It is still a reading vlog. So I'm currently reading 4 books that at various points I'm sure I'll be talking to you about, although the first one I probably won't talk about too much because I'm actually reading it for an impatient vlog that will be already up on my channel by the time you're watching this, and that is The Perfect Golden Circle by Benjamin Myers. So this is book number 1, and I'm nearly finished this, so I'll finish this definitely in the course of filming this, but like I said, I might not like do a full review of that because I'll already be doing that in another vlog. So that's book number 1. The second one I'm reading that's like a physical book is Once a Monster by Robert Dinsdale, and that lovely metallic stuff is gonna be a nightmare to get on camera. There you go. This is a sort of retelling of the Minotaur myth, hence the bullhead, but it's set in like Victorian London. I have read this much, about 20 pages. So far I'm enjoying it. It's giving sort of, I read predominantly literary fiction, and this is more, I mean it isn't not literary, but it's much more like historical fiction vibes, and I think it's going to be more of like a story that you get swept up in. So I think pace-wise it's going to be a nice sort of counterpoint to some of the other things I'm reading, so I'm looking forward to getting more into that. I doubt I will finish this book this week, but maybe, who knows. And then I have 2 books that I don't have physical copies of. So the first is Evenings and Weekends by Oísin, McKenna, and this I'm listening to. I'm really enjoying this book so far. I will talk about it more when I'm finished, but I've only got an hour left of that audiobook, so I'm probably going to be finishing that, and maybe we'll have a chat while I decide what to have next, because I always like having an audiobook on the go. But yeah, I'm really enjoying that one, so we'll chat about that. And then on my e-reader that isn't actually an e-reader, I am reading On Looking by Alexandra Horowitz, and I've just started this. I came across this on Instagram via like a Reddit post that had been shared on Instagram, and I thought it sounded brilliant. I have been a bit under pace on my non-fiction reading this year, like not reading as much non-fiction as I have in previous years, which is fine because I've really been enjoying the fiction, but I have been feeling a little bit like I've been neglecting my non-fiction a bit, and this sounds right up my street. It sounds so interesting. So it's about how we have almost trained ourselves into not noticing things. And so the premise of the book is that Alexandra Horowitz goes on really mundane, like round the block walks. In the introduction she talks about how, like, because she's got a dog, she's always like just walking around the block, and feeling like that's quite like a boring walk, and you don't really like, there's not really that much to see. So she walks around the block with 11 different experts in different fields, and each chapter is like her going on a walk with like, I don't know, like someone who's like got a particular like historical specialism, or someone who knows a lot about like architecture or like rocks or nature, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I've only read the introduction, so I haven't actually been on one of the walks yet. It's a funny book because this, according to, I'm reading it on Everand, and this is the cover that I've got on Everand, which has this subtitle, and then I've seen like the same book with like 4 different subtitles. I don't know which one is technically like the English edition, and then I assume there's like one of them's like an American maybe, or something else, but I thought they were all going to be the same block, 11 different ways. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think they've just taken the principle of like walking around the block and they're going to go to different places, but I'll check in with you about that, because I think it's going to be really interesting. I think I'm going to check in with you once a day. I might not always have that much to say. There's probably going to be a bit more like food stuff, dog stuff, life stuff happening. I haven't got particular plans this week, I don't think. We are at Sunday today, hello, and we're about to go for brunch at a really delicious place called Thali Tray, that's like an Indian restaurant, but they do these amazing brunches. So we're gonna go have that. That's probably the next thing you're gonna see, and we're just gonna, like, I'm at work this week, so you know, it's not like gonna be wall-to-wall adventuring, but if you're up for just a kind of chilled little chat, get yourself a cup of tea, let's do that. See you later. Hello. Sorry for the backlighting, best I could manage. I'm making a risotto, so I'm just going to be standing at my hob for about 15 minutes stirring, so I thought, hey, I'll catch you up, still Sunday. And I'm checking in because I finished a book. I finished Evenings and Weekends by Oísin McKenna, and I really enjoyed it. So this is a queer literary fiction. When I was doing my tier ranking of my best books of the year, I realised how many of the books I really love, or have really loved this year, have been over a really condensed amount of time. I think I prefer that generally to like big epics that take years and years and years and multi-generations. I think because of my lost the plotty sort of head, I quite like really zeroed in plots. And so this is following sort of a group of characters in London in 2019 over pretty much the majority of the novel is over like a weekend. And then there's a bit at the end, which is like 6 weeks later. And it's a good one to read at the moment, actually, because it's very summery. It's like set during a heat wave when... Do you remember when there was a whale stuck in the River Thames? So it relocates when that happened to 2019. I'm pretty sure it happened before that. But for the sake of the book, it's while the whale is stuck in the Thames, that sort of period of time that we're dealing with, and we're following in part a young couple called Ed and... Oh my god, I just finished this book today. That's ridiculous. What's her name? Maggie. And they are in their late 20s or early 30s. Hi, Lou. And you coming to lie on the floor? Okay, good boy. Yeah, you're fine. And they have just found out they're pregnant. And they're not 100% sure how to feel about that. They're kind of like happy, but also they don't have much money, so they're concerned about like what sort of life they'll be able to give their child. And then There's Phil, who is Maggie's best friend, his parents, and like a kind of like, it's probably like a cast of like principal characters, like 6 or 7. I realise while I'm multitasking, I do a very bad job of being succinct with my descriptions. But basically, you're just following this small group of people, interconnected, and there's a lot of shameful secrets. There's a lot of things that people are trying to hide. There is a lot of things that people want to bring into the open but don't have the words for. And I thought it was really great. It was a debut novel. I think on the whole, it was a really solid debut. I don't know, for me, it wasn't that long. I think the audiobook was like, was it 9 hours? So like it's like not long, not short, like in that middle sort of thing. And I felt there was a jump towards the end that I wish you're building towards, oh my God, are these various characters going to find out these various things? And I found that when you got to that crescendo, that sort of like narrative crescendo, I would have liked to like sit in that discomfort for longer. We kind of zoom out quite quickly and go to like 6 weeks later, when obviously like people have had time to adjust to their feelings and things. But yeah, I thought it was really interesting. I definitely check the trigger warnings for it, because there are some things that will be difficult to read about if you are particularly triggered by any number of them, so check those. I think it covered some ground that I don't see covered too often, even in like queer contemporary literary fiction. There's sort of 3 of the characters. There's a gay couple called Keith and Louis, and Phil, Maggie's friend. Their relationship is open, so ethical non-monogamy, and Phil has been sleeping with Keith. And there's really interesting explorations of sort of like the opportunities for reimagining intimate relationships and romantic relationships in the queer space. I mean, not exclusively, but like if you're living outside of the heteronormative sort of way of living, there's lots more opportunity for kind of reimagining families and relationships and things. And I thought that was explored really well in terms of like the tension between valuing that opportunity but also craving some of the stability and almost like milestones of heteronormative experience. So I thought that was really interestingly dealt with. On the whole, I think when you've got sort of these sorts of stories where there's like quite a large cast, you're inevitably going to be drawn more to some characters than others. I really liked Phil's storyline. And there's a storyline with his mum who's just been diagnosed with cancer. And I was more interested in Phil's sort of romantic storyline than I was the family one. Sometimes it felt that was a bit shoehorned in. I can't decide how I feel about the whale, because it was referred to quite a lot. And there was a couple of chapters that followed one of the women who was very involved in trying to save the whale, and that felt a little... I don't know, if I was being cynical, I feel like that was put there just to be a point of difference, to be like, oh no, this book is different to other books like it because, do you know what I mean? But I also thought explorations of class were really interesting in it. Do you know what it sort of reminded me of? If you've read, oh my God, what's it called? Saltwater by Jessica Andrews. You might like this. And yeah, I think there was a lot to enjoy. I found like I listened to the audiobook, as I said, and I found it really compelling, and, you know, I never got bored when I was listening to it, and yeah, I thought it was like a really assured, like, solid debut. But yeah, so one book down. So then I was having a little look on Everand to see what new audiobook I could listen to while I make my risotto. And I've started listening to one that's, do you ever start reading a book and just really early on, like embarrassingly early on, get really excited? So I am listening to The Extinction of Irena by Jennifer Croft. And I've never read Jennifer Croft before, but I've always been interested in her work because I know she's a translator who also writes literary, quite like experimental, I think, literary fiction. And this, I think I heard Ben at Ben Reads Good talk about this book, and was it Ben or was it Bob? Oh, was it Bob the Booker? I'll link both of their channels down below because they're both really great. Yeah, so this is a kind of a literary thriller, and it's about this author, this Polish author called Irena, who has this like army of translators, like all of her translators who translate her books into various other languages. Anytime she has a new book out, she invites them all to this like her remote house that's like on the border of Poland and Belarus, and she disappears. So she invites them to, like, she's just finished like her magnum opus, and she disappears. I'm only like a couple of chapters into it. She hasn't disappeared yet, but that's just like, that's from the blurb that I know that that's going to happen. And it's a very like unreliable narrator because it's being presented as a book that's being written by someone else who was in that translation party, but it's been translated into English by the English translator who was in that party, who is herself a character, therefore, in the book, but also the translator of the book. I am getting very good vibes. So I'm going to carry on listening to that now and leave you there for now. And I have high hopes for this risotto and that book. So see you later. Welcome to Monday evening. I've just finished reading Perfect Golden Circle. Liked it. It's set in the 80s about two sort of social misfits who get really into making crop circles. So I enjoyed the setting of it. Thought some of the themes were a little heavy-handed, but yeah, enjoyed it. And now I'm just staring at my bookcase trying to work out what I want to pick up, because I mean I'm already reading other books, but I always feel like when I finish a book that means I get to start another book regardless of how many other books I'm reading at the same time, you know? So I'm just trying to work out what I'm in the mood for. I also, Monday is the day that my partner and I do like a team clean. So we spend like a couple of hours just cleaning the house. And so I've listened to quite a bit more of the audiobook that I was listening to, oh my god, what's her name? Jennifer Croft. And I'm still enjoying that. Now, I'm very drawn. Where is she? to the New Life by Tom Crew. However, I've already got historical on the go, and I don't know if I want two historical books. Having said that, the other one that's speaking to me is The Pull of the Stars by Emma Donoghue, because I read Haven by Emma Donoghue. Oh my god, was that only earlier this month? And really liked it. It's the first of her historical fiction books that I've read, which I know is predominantly what she writes, but I'd only read A Room by her before, and I do fancy this, but as I say, do I want to do two historical fiction? Where's my literary fiction? Come on. What my physical bookcases have a lot of now these days, because I have got better at reading them, is what Books Unbound call chipmunk books. Books that I know I want to read like at some point, but are not books that I necessarily like feel the urgency to read. So like I've got a load of classics here, but realistically, am I cracking open Anna Karenina on a random Monday night? Probs not. What's down here? I mean, I could just do some... And Lapvona, and see, Lapvona that's historical as well, isn't it? But maybe it just is just a historical fiction time. I'm really struggling to work out what I'm in the mood for. I just realised you've just got a load of bookshelf there. Sorry, that's really brilliantly done, Hannah. Well done. Do I read some Paul Auster? I do like Paul Auster. Do I read some David Mitchell? Or do I just lean into the fact that the other physical book that I'm reading at the minute is riffing on a Greek myth, and do I read Atalanta? Or do I read the Penelopead? Because I read the Odyssey last month, so maybe I read the Penelopead. It's not normally this hard, lads. It's not normally this hard. Simply cannot decide, so I'm on Lewin's nighttime walk now, and I've just asked people on Instagram because apparently I'm incapable of making a decision, so... Tuesday. It is Tuesday evening. I've just finished wrapping up my July Impatient Reading vlog, talking about these two books, and I've just had so many meetings at work today and medical overshare. I am battling a UTI that is making me so miserable. So miserable. If you've never had one of these, I'm incredibly jealous, but it basically feels like I have to piss all the fucking time. Feels like I am desperate to piss all the fucking time, and it's driving me insane. So I'm probably not going to read this evening because I don't think I'm engaged enough in any of the books that I'm reading, even though I'm enjoying them, to distract me from that. And instead, I think my partner and I are going to rent Challenges because I really wanted to see that and I didn't get to see it at the cinema. So I think we're going to do that, and we're all going to pray that I can hydrate this thing away, because I hate it so much. I hate it so much. And I am like, I love to hydrate. I love to hydrate. And it's making me not want to hydrate. Anyway. Catch you later. Hi. Wednesday night. And I have antibiotics. But now I have lower back pain, which can sometimes mean that it has migrated to the kidneys. So I don't feel great. And I've read like a chapter of Onlooking by Alexandra Horowitz, which I am enjoying and which I'll talk to you about when I'm feeling a bit better. But for now, I think I'm just gonna go to bed early and I'm gonna sit in bed and edit tomorrow night's video, which I haven't done yet. Yeah, hopefully do some more reading tomorrow if I'm feeling a bit better. I think I'm a bit run down. I've had I mentioned to a pal that I'd had like all these meetings for work and stuff, and have I told you that, or was I talking in a different video? I'm often filming multiple videos at a time, so who knows, but I've had a lot of meetings at work, and I'm sorry that I'm shaking you, but my hand is shaking a bit, so you're just gonna have to deal with it. And I've had a lot of meetings, which I find kind of exhausting, and isn't my normal sort of like work vibe. I'm not like the meetings gal, you know what I mean? I'm the like, leave me alone while I do my work gal. So I think I'm quite run down, so I think it's probably not surprising that a little infection has snuck in. So all of that is to say, I should have known that when I was like, I'm going to do a video and it's just going to be like what I read in a standard week, that I would end up having like a non-standard week. But I've got an appointment with the GP tomorrow to see if I need anything stronger than what I've got, and hopefully things are going to start clearing up, and luckily the painkillers have kicked in and my back doesn't throb anymore, so that's good. And hopefully by the time you're watching this I'll be tickety-boo. Night. Thursday evening, it's 10:30, and I'm prepping tea for tomorrow, so I thought I'd just fill you in on the reading and the life of the last 24 hours. most importantly, what am I making? One of my favourite things to make, because it is kind of impressive. It looks kind of impressive, but it's actually super easy. It's a whole roast, sort of vaguely tandoori-ish cauliflower. And I do it with like a basic red lentil dal, a load of fried chilies and garlic on top, and it's legit. But I'm just prepping the marinade for the cauliflower so that it can marinate for 24 hours overnight. Which, look, once upon a time there was a recipe for this. She'll use a recipe once and then we're just going with the gist of it. So I use plain vegan yogurt because I don't eat dairy, but you know, use dairy if you want. And then just a bunch of spices that whatever you fancy. I'm going to be using garam masala, some madras curry powder, some random extra curry powder. Gonna put some garlic granules in, gonna put some onion granules in because fuck it, why not? I'm gonna put some crushed chilli in, I'm gonna put some cumin in. So that's what we're doing. And then I add a little bit of vegetable oil as well to help kind of like loosen it up and help it stick. And basically you bung an entire cauliflower whole into it, or in florets if you want, or you could use like tofu or I don't know, meat if you must. Yeah, that's what we're doing. So I'm making that, we'll do life first. Will we do life first? The good news is I spoke to the GP and I have new antibiotics, which are hopefully gonna stop the infection from ascending to my kidneys, which is great. And I'm feeling loads better, except for a new symptom, which I suspect is like a side effect of the antibiotics. But we are extremely bloated. Now, obviously, like some of that is just my beautiful tummy, but a big chunk of it is just bloat. So I'm feeling a little uncomfortable, which is also why I'm prepping like stuff in my kitchen at 10:30 at night, because I can't get comfy sitting down and I don't want to go to bed yet. And if I lie down, I'll go to sleep, and I don't want to go to sleep yet. So here we are. So that's life. I think you will have seen some B-roll of my beautiful boy playing with his boyfriend today. That was Zach and Blaze. Zach is Lewin's favourite dog in the entire world, so it was an exciting day that we went to their house. And yeah, I had my last big day of meetings. I mean, I still have some, but today was my last day of like non-stop stuff. So yeah, so that is life. That's basically all I've got to say about life. And books, that thing that I'm supposed to be talking to you about, not my like blow or my dinner. I am about, where should we start? Yeah, we'll start with Once a Monster. I'm about a third of the way through that now, and I am enjoying it. It's not quite the vibe of what I thought it would be. It's a bit more, I was kind of thinking it was going to be like a fun, like rompy sort of vibe, and it's not really that. It's more introspective and it's a bit slower, which I'm not enjoying. It's just, yeah, not quite. Wow, that's really oniony, mother of God. But I'm enjoying it. So I think I said it's like a Victorian reimagining of the Minotaur, and it's kind of interesting the way they've done it. So the idea is pretty much that the Minotaur never, well, is this spoilery? I don't think it is, because you kind of figure that he's the Minotaur or some kind of relation, and he's got amnesia, and you slowly start to realise that you're like, hang on, is this the guy? And it's like over time he has become slightly less. So the Minotaur, as he is in Victorian England, is he's still got a sort of like unique appearance. Very like he's big, he's physically really big, like very big jawline, kind of bumps on the head where horns would be, but he doesn't have the head of a cow. And the idea is almost that he has slowly over time, over the many years and the many versions of his life that he's lived, he is becoming more human. So we are following him, and we are following a young girl called Nell, who is a mudlark. Think kind of like Fagin's pickpockety kids, what are they called? Like Artful Dodger et al. It's like that. Like in East London, they're called mudlarks because they basically traipse up and down the river shore, looking for kind of anything that's fallen in the river, and that is how they find Minos, who has been attacked, stabbed, and thrown in the water, and by all like should be dead, but isn't dead. And you're following him, you're following Nell. We've got this other woman who sort of has just popped up for a random chapter. I haven't quite worked out why she's here yet, but she's here, this sort of well-to-do, or you get the vibe that she's like a formerly well-to-do woman, kind of down on her luck. And I think we're going to have quite a lot of like freak show sort of themes coming along, because people are interested in exploiting the fact that Minos looks atypical. And yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's very like the writing doesn't blow me away, but it's extremely readable. It's enjoyable. It's so far so good. I think I haven't got very far into it, but then I think I just haven't really read much in the last couple of days. So I think that is very much a like an indication of like where I'm at, as opposed to any kind of comment on the books. Oh, and I have decided what I'm going to read, because you know how I wasn't sure and I asked on Instagram. Well, I asked on Instagram and then I decided to ignore Instagram and I decided to read We. I haven't started it yet, but it's by, oh my god, can I remember his name? It's by a Russian author whose name I can't remember right now. And it's held up to be the book that inspired 1984, but the reason I have it, and the reason I'm particularly interested to read it, is because the author spent time in Newcastle, and very specifically in Wallsend, which is where I live, on the shipyards, and apparently the imagery of like the shipyards and the cranes and stuff has informed the imagery in this book, so I'm very interested to see if that is the case. It's also like written as a series of like reports, which is giving me like The Employees by Olga Raun vibes. I'm wondering if like maybe she was a little inspired by that. Tandoori dressing. I mean, it's not like, let's not call it tandoori because it's shamefully inauthentic, but a spiced yogurt marinade. Yeah, so that's Once a Monster and We. I cooled my boots a bit with the Extinction of Irena, and it's not because I'm not enjoying it, I am enjoying it, but I read like a real big chunk of it really quickly, and I have to be careful of that with literary fiction audiobooks particularly, that I find my retention of detail, which is not great at the best of times, is particularly bad when I consume in like a big chunk. So I've just listened to another little bit after not having listened to it in a while. I'm just under halfway through, and yeah, I am enjoying it. It's very hard to describe, but yeah, we're following these translators this woman who they like idolize, and whose work basically is, she's the only author that they translate. There's like basically like an exclusivity clause, which is like, if you're a Irena Ray's translator, you don't translate for anyone else. So it's like kind of a big deal. And it's told, the narrative is told by Spanish. So at first in the book, all of the translators and Irena herself refers to them all by the language that they translate into. So like no names, just like Czech, Spanish, French, English. And where the book has been written by Spanish, who is an Argentinian woman, and has been translated by English, who is an American woman, and they do not like each other. So it's really funny because obviously it's been written by Spanish, so she will be like saying something, she'll say something really bitchy about English, and then English will like pop up in a footnote being like, I really must disagree at this representation, like I've translated it because that's what she wrote, but and that I'm enjoying. It's a very odd book. Like, I can't work out if we are going towards a folkloric, magical realist place, or if we're going to a thrillery place. It kind of could go in any number of directions, and I'm interested to see where it goes. But there are a few bits that I think I'm just allowing to go over my head, that if I was reading this book to do a really deep reading of it, I would be being more careful, I think. But there's like whole bits about, so they found this manuscript. Irena's disappeared, fucked off. We don't know if she's left willingly. We don't know if anything's happened to her. But the translators have decided, you know, they'll just sort of try and like translate their way to a solution rather than like, I don't know, calling the police. And so, yeah, we've got her. She's disappeared, and they've made the decision to read the manuscript, which she expressly told them not to read. She basically like sent it to them. You get the impression that she plays a lot of mind games with her translators, right? There's a real power dynamic and manipulation there. And I wonder like how much of this is a commentary on the relationship between authors and their translators, because as I said, Jennifer Croft herself she is an author, but she's also a translator. So I wonder like how much of this is sort of like, anyway, that's me sort of just wanting there to be gossip. But yeah, she emailed them all with an attachment, like a Word file of this magnum opus book, and just said, do not open this. So like, I mean, if someone did that to me, no way in hell I'm not opening it, do you know what I mean? Like, I have no impulse control. So yeah, they've got this big book now that they're trying to translate together, and are sort of hoping that by translating the book they'll sort of figure out what's going on. But this book is a really sort of environmentally charged book. The author Irena was clearly very concerned about the climate, about the environment, about industry's impact on the environment, and this book is all about that. So we get these kind of long tangents that are a little bit to do with that I'm not 100%. I don't know if I'm taking everything that I'm supposed to be taking from those, but we'll see. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. I'm looking forward to getting a bit more stuck into it,
because I think I went too far the other way, in that I recognised that I was maybe reading it a little too quickly. So then I didn't read it at all for a couple of days, and it's taken me a little bit to get back into it. So like, we're gonna try and moderate going forward. And fuck, I'm just talk a load of fucking nonsense, don't I? This video is supposed to be short. It's gonna be long, isn't it? It's gonna be long. See you soon. She's my neighbour's cat who I'm looking after this week. I'm not in my house, obviously, because Lewin could never cohabit with a cat. But I'm popping in and hanging out with her for a week. So I thought you might like to see her, to say hi. We had the doll tonight rather than last night because we accidentally went to the pub. We accidentally went to the pub on Friday night, which meant I basically couldn't be asked to cook when we got in, and we got a takeaway instead. So we had the dal tonight and it was delicious. Thanks, Wolf. And yeah, I'll talk to you about books tomorrow, but for now, here's your kitty cat. It's back to Sunday morning and we've come full circle. So yeah, I'm just gonna wrap up with a couple of books that I don't think I've spoken about as much. I've started We by Yevgeny Zamyatin, and I really like it. It's really cool. I'm about 20% through, but I think I'm gonna have to go quite slowly, or at least like wait until it's one of the only books that I'm like focused on, because it's so dense with ideas and things to think about that like I feel like I haven't I'm not quite able to like sink my teeth into it at the moment with like other reading that I've got going on. So I haven't got that far through it, but I'm really enjoying it. So I said it was
made up of these like reports, a bit like The Employees by Olga Rown, and that's sort of true. So this is set in a dystopian future called One State. We don't know how far into the future, I don't think, but like 100 years in the future from like when this was written in the, when was it? 20s. It was first written in the 20s. So to be fair, possibly like nowish time. But in this dystopian future, it is it's sort of like extreme communism. It's very, there's very little individual, though there's almost no individuality. Everyone is known as a number. Everything is regimented by the state. Everything is equal. And they are in the process, our main character is one of the engineers on a spaceship called Integral, which is going to, a bit like weirdly in Michelle Faber's The Book of Strange New Things, they're sending out this spaceship to what they hope will be other populated worlds, and they've asked the citizens to contribute sort of writing or any sort of like artistic impressions about life in One State to share with these sort of unknown alien peoples. And so that's what the book is. It is the records from this one person as he's sort of tracking his daily life in One State, but then obviously has the opportunity to be quite expositional because he's like, oh god, yeah, you don't know like the history of One State and you don't know like how we ended up here. And it's really interesting. There's so many like ideas about like art versus rationality and, you know, individualism versus collectivism, and it's really, really, really interesting and very well written. And I can totally see like how it inspired 1984. And yeah, it's great so far. And I will update you in a wrap up, no doubt, with how I get on with it. And then the other book that I haven't really spoken about is On Looking by Alexandra Horowitz. And it's funny because when I'm reading this book, I am enjoying it, but I'm not finding myself drawn to it. Or haven't been finding myself drawn to it this week. So I've read about 3 of like, I think like 16 chapters. So I haven't made much of a dent in it at all. But so far she's got on walks. You'll remember this is her going on walks with various experts to sort of try and expand her perception of the world. And actually the first one she goes on brilliantly is a walk with her toddler. And is just sort of like following his lead in terms of like anytime he stops and is fascinated by something, she stops too and tries to like be fascinated by it as well. And it was really interesting. The second chapter I was a little less into. It was with a geologist and it was interesting, but I found like there was a bit more technical stuff in there that I just felt like went a bit over my head. I'm not a rocks girly, okay, but I think it's inevitable that like you're going to have all these different perspectives, so some are going to chime with you more than others. But the one that I read yesterday night was like a graphic designer and like a font designer going around New York and like pointing out all of the like kind of idiosyncrasies in terms of like font and typeface, and like I was really into that. That was really interesting. So like I'm enjoying that, but yeah, not finding myself super drawn to it. And I wonder if, because I'm busy at the moment, I think I am like resisting the call of this book to like take a step back and like chill out and just be. I think like my brain is being like, we don't have time to do that right now, which is the reason I wanted to read this book, is because of that tendency. But I've got like one more busy week, and then August should be much quieter for me. And I'm hoping that next week I will have a chance to get more stuck into it, because I am enjoying it. I really enjoy her writing. like her writing style, her voice is really, really readable. She does a very good job of sort of like distilling some of these specialisms into like really accessible language for like lay people who don't have those specialisms, although it didn't 100% work with me for the rocks, but that's just because, you know, like geography was my least favourite subject in school, so like, sorry. But yeah, that's it. So let me know what you think of this sort of format. In theory, I enjoyed, it's felt like much less like pressure doing something like this, but there are already things that I would like do a little differently next time. But yeah, let me know what you think of the sort of format of this, but also if you've read any of these books or if any are gonna make their way onto your TBR, and hopefully some of them will be in next week's video, which will be my wrap up for July if I manage to finish any of these before the end of the month. We've got a few days to go, and yeah, if you want to give this a thumbs up, that would be really kind, and subscribe to my channel if you've enjoyed this, and you haven't, then do that, and otherwise I'll see you next week for my July wrap up.